This is the TNA Wrestling January 2nd, 2025 full show results video. Joe Hendry comes to the ring and talks about becoming the new #1 contender for Nick Namath's TNA World Championship at Final Resolution, and the two will face off later this month at Genesis. Ryan Namath interrupted and got in the ring, and he was greeted with "You suck" chants. He said that Hendry whines every week and that he is tarnishing Nick Namath's reputation. He said that Hendry wasn't a hero or main eventer, but he was a mid-carder and a backstabber. Namath said that no one can trust Hendry, and fans chanted "We believe." Hendry said he would tell a little personal story. He talked about being on the road and he went to the doctor because he was having trouble sleeping, and the doctor advised him to watch the Ryan Namath comedy special. Hendry said he watched it and fell right asleep, and he told Namath he had business to attend to. Namath said he was taking on Rhino tonight and would send him back to Man Beast Island. Hendry said they should give the people what they want and have the match right now, and Rhino came out for the match. Then we saw a match between Ryan Namath versus Rhino, and the finish of the match saw Ryan Namath attempt to use a steel chair on Rhino but is stopped. Rhino then uses it on him instead and gets disqualified, and Namath won the match. Gia Miller interviewed Jordynne Grace about Tess Blanchard attacking her at Final Resolution. Grace said this was about respect, and she talked about Tessa taking her ball and leaving TNA. Grace talked about how she represented the company, even during the pandemic. She said she would be in the main event tonight, and she warned Tessa that she isn't the same person who was there when Tessa was in TNA before. She said she would give Tessa the warm greeting she deserved. The Rascals are backstage and they make it clear they would love to be next in line to challenge the Hardys for the TNA World Tag Team titles. The Hardys come in and Matt says the Rascals remind them of themselves and believes Genesis deserves a big match, and he accepts their challenge and the four men shake hands. The next match happened between Kushida versus Ace Austin. Kushida took Ace to the mat early. Ace did a dive to the floor on Kushida, and Kushida pulled Ace to the apron by his arm and continued to work on his arm. Kushida continued to have the upper hand. They traded strikes and Ace got a 2 count after a powerbomb. Kushida caught Ace with a dropkick and a palm strike and got a 2 count after another palm strike. Ace caught Kushida with a kick from the ropes and they battled back and forth. Kushida gave Ace an arm lock from the top rope, but Ace gave Kushida a spin kick and followed with the fold, and won the match by pinfall. Ace got on the mic after the match and fans chanted for him. He said everyone loves Chris Bay, and he thanked the fans for sticking with him and for supporting Bay. He said that every day Bay fights for a normal life and Ace fights for him, and he talked with Bay before he went into surgery, and Bay told Ace he had to go on a singles run and win the big one. Ace said it's time he wins the top title, and he declared that he wants Nick Namath and the world title. Moose's music interrupted and he walked to the stage, and he said that Ace didn't mention his name. Moose got in the ring and he said the X Division title is the flagship title of TNA, and without it, TNA wouldn't be the hottest league in wrestling. Moose said he had the top title in TNA, and he said Ace was scared of him, and he encouraged Ace to go after Namath. Moose started to talk about Chris Bay, but Ace cut him off and said to keep Bay's name out of his mouth. Ace talked about his accomplishments and he challenged Moose to a match right now. Santino Marella interrupted and walked to the stage and said this wasn't the time and place for the match. He said Ace was on fire and he was undeniable, and he made the title match for Genesis. Eric Young, Steve Macklin, and Jonathan Gresham backstage promo. Young told Macklin to trust him, and Young asked Gresham what was next. The System walked in and started talking about regaining the tag team titles. Then a brawl breaks out, but the 6 men have to be pulled apart by security. Backstage, Ryan Namath is whining and complaining about Joe Hendry and Rhino hitting him with a steel chair. Nick Namath shows up and Ryan tells him a revised version of the truth. Rhino comes in and says what really happened, but before the 3 of them could come to blows, Santino shows up to calm things down. Marella says next week there will be a tag match with Rhino, and a partner of his choosing can take on the Namath brothers. Joe Hendry comes in and says he'll team with Rhino next week, so it appears we'll get one more match for Rhino after all. Mike Santana walked through the crowd and got in the ring for a promo, and he talked about Final Resolution and being disappointed that he didn't get the title shot. He talked about the obstacles he has overcome, and he was interrupted by Josh Alexander and the Northern Armory. Alexander talked about the history between he and Santana, and he said that Santana had heart. He said he might not be the wrestler he is today if it wasn't for the LAX versus the North matches. He said that the North sent Santana packing, and he said that Santana left, did nothing, and never won any titles. He talked about all he had accomplished, and he said as long as he's in TNA, Santana will never be the guy. The Northern Armory went to leave, but Santana told them not to leave just yet. Santana said that Alexander did become the man, and he questioned if it was because he had kissed up to management. Santana said he could beat all three of them and challenge them to a match next week. He said he would prove everything he said he was, and he would see them next week. Jordynne was still sitting at the arena entrance, and her tag team partners told her it was time for their match. They all left, and Santino brought in security to watch the entrance. Frankie Kazarian backstage promo, and he said he would be plotting to take the right opportunity to cash in his title match. He stopped Leon Slater and said he had it. He said that Slater could never be a king, but he could be a prince. He offered to be Slater's coach, and Slater seemed receptive. Frankie said that Slater could carry his trophy for him, and Slater politely declined and said he was here to create his own legacy. Frankie said, "Oh, you're one of those," Slater said when he got the chance, he would surpass Frankie. Slater left, and JDC stepped in and told Frankie that he hoped Slater's demons didn't get the best of him. He thought of nicknames for Slater like the Future, but decided that would never get over. Nick Nemeth walked to the stage and talked about Joe Hendry facing him in the upcoming title match at Genesis. He said he would steal the show and keep the title, and talked about the tag team match next week. Fans booed the mention of Ryan Nemeth, who walked to the stage, and Ryan got on the mic and said Hendry was a snake and was not Nick's friend. He complained about Rhino hitting him with a chair, and fans chanted, "You deserved it." He told the fans that Nick deserves more respect, and said next week they would show everyone that the name Nemeth is synonymous with greatness. In the main event of the show, we saw a match between Jordynne Grace, Masha Slamovich, and Spitfire vs. Rosemary, Tasha Steelz, Ash, and Heather by Elegance. Masha and Tasha started the match and traded punches, and all four wrestlers fought in the ring. The heels continued to get heat on Jody. Jody battled back, suplexed Rosemary, and finally made the tag to Grace. Grace got a 2 count on Ash, and Tasha splashed Grace to break up another pin attempt. Masha tagged in and hit a series of moves on Tasha. All 8 wrestlers took turns trading moves, and Spitfire paired off with the Elegances on the outside. In the end, Masha Slamovich hit Tasha Steelz with the snowplow to score the pinfall victory for her team. As the babyfaces celebrated, Tess Blanchard attacked Grace from behind, and Rosemary spit mist in Masha's eyes. Blanchard and Grace fought backstage. She dragged Grace down the ramp and out of the building. She declared she was taking her locker room back and pulled down a door to shut Grace out, and the TNA Impact goes off the air. This was certainly a mixed bag of a show, and we only got 3 matches, which is a rarity for TNA, but they made multiple important matches for Genesis later this month. After 2 weeks off, I feel there should have been a much stronger effort from the company to regain its momentum heading into the pay-per-view. What do you think for this week's episode? Let me know in the comments section, and thanks for watching the video.